What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Peanut Gallery Podcast, episode number 3. I got Drake, I got Brian, and we're going to dive into some All-Star Weekend. We're going to dive into a lot of things. So first off, we got the All-Star Weekend, and I know, Brian, you're super hyped about the Miz's shot. What are we thinking about that, big dog?
Man, so first of all, that game, I didn't watch all of it, but I did watch the end of it. And when I say that it was the best thing that I've watched in a long time, it was the best thing I watched in a long time. Especially when it came down to The Miz, the wrestler, WWE superstar The Miz, making a half court shot for the buzzer beater. In my opinion, it should have counted. But at the same time, I can see why it didn't count it. You guys could probably have your input,
Right.
but it's a celebrity game. I think it should have counted. I
You
think
got
it
to
should have
adjust the
counted.
rules, right? Like, why would you not let that count? It's the celebrity game. It's not like they're not getting paid millions of dollars like the All Stars are just to be playing basketball. It's like this is for fun. That's why they do this part to bring more attention to the game,
Did
the
I
whole All Star weekend.
did either of y'all watch the actual All Star game with the NBA players?
I watched the highlights.
Because I didn't. So, um, did they do it the same this year, where it's like first to so many points wins the game?
Yeah,
Because I know
118.
I
that
think
I
so.
know the last couple of years I've seen that they switched to that. Why wouldn't they do that with the celebrity game? Like,
I have
There,
no
there, so
idea.
there's still a time on like quarters though.
oh, is
I
there?
think. And
Okay.
it'll just go to like overtime or whatever
Yeah,
percent.
I don't think I've ever watched an NBA All Star game in my life. So, like the clips I'd seen from the last years, it's like first to like 150 wins. So I just thought it's like okay, we'll do like you'll have like certain breaks once a certain score is hit, kind of thing, to like mimic
Mhm.
quarters and halftime. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that makes sense. But I mean, yeah, the only clip I've seen from the entire All Star weekend was in that same celebrity game, Albert Pujols stealing the ball off of 21
Dude,
Savage. That's like
what?
that's like the craziest thing to me. Like, and
Twenty-one Savage,
I never
Albert
thought in this
Pujols.
universe you would have one of the like what is he, fourth in MLB history in home runs with 702.
Yeah.
Just and
Yeah.
he's like slow as heck. Like, let's be real. And he strips one of the famous rappers on the planet, 21 Savage, in a basketball game that's like broadcasted nationally.
It's like
I
a
never would have thought I'd
multiverse
seen the game.
action.
Yeah.
It's like a multiverse action. Like whenever I saw that, where 21 Savage against Albert Pujols, and then Albert Pujols steals from 21 Savage, it's like, what dimension am I
It's like
in?
a
Kind of
it's
Like
thing,
like
you
we're in
know?
universe
yeah.
412 from the
It's a
multiverse. Like, what the
it's
hell
a
are we doing here?
Avengers Endgame type beat. Like that's something crazy.
Honestly,
But the main reason I kind of put uh, the whole NBA All Star game like kind of in this breakdown. I haven't even said this to you guys yet. Um, the one similar to the NHL, like it just seems to me like the All Star games, really in any sport. Like you look at football, you got the Pro Bowl, even the MLB All Star game. It feels like they've lost their sort of importance or meaning nowadays. Like the Pro Bowl, I know guys from like 10 years ago would say if you made the Pro Bowl, like you tried your absolute hardest. Like for a good 2 weeks, you were out there training and like practicing because you wanted to win.
Yeah.
Like I know
yeah.
up until like 15 years ago with the MLB All Star game, whichever conference won the MLB All Star game, that conference got home field advantage for the World Series. So like it meant something. I think that's
Yeah.
silly having an All Star game determine something that important, but like you gotta have some. It just feels like there's no more emotion in any All Star games anymore, which is why I like college basketball more because it's like the game.
I
It's
agree.
just different play styles. People like the run and shoot, and that's fine. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
hate anyone for it, but I don't know.
It's
Just
hard
feels.
to instill that in especially football because like for the MLB and NHL and the NBA, all their all-star things are in season.
Mm,
But like
Hmm.
when it comes to the Pro Bowl and the NFL, that is right before the Super Bowl. So most of those guys were eliminated. You couldn't do something like that. Like, oh, off of the Pro Bowl, the NFC will get the like, and they don't even do home field. So
Mm-hmm.
there's really not a lot you could put on it. And those guys don't want to get injured. But beforehand, it was like a conference pride kind of deal. Like that was important. But you could still, I think it's silly. I agree when it comes to the MLB deciding who gets home field in the World Series. But if you have something on the line that all these people think they could have a chance to be a part of, like it would make it more like really watching the best of the best go as hard as they can. Because now, like, people just don't want to get injured in the NHL and the NBA.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I go so
Yeah.
hard just to get injured, and then my actual team, we don't have a chance. So
Mm-hmm.
it's wishy washy.
It's definitely a fine line because obviously if someone got hurt in one of the All Star games, it's like, oh well, like you just lost this guy for however long, and
Yeah.
what was the point, kind of thing. It's a fine line, but I don't want to say like, I guess just throwing in a little extra effort. But the one of the big things I saw from that All Star weekend was Karl Anthony Towns. Or no, was it Anthony Edwards? One of gosh, this looks bad on me. I can't remember
I
who
gotta
it was.
tell you, yeah.
But someone was getting interviewed during the All Star weekend, and he basically said like, yeah, these guys that take like load management and like sit out every fourth game because their hamstring feels a little tight or something silly like that. He's like, these like all the fans, they might be lucky to have enough money saved up to go to one game, and if that one game they go to, their favorite player is benched because his elbow feels a little sore, like I which
Yeah.
is I think is for me in the NBA is like the most frustrating thing, because it's like I understand the whole not wanting to get hurt, and like if you're at a good enough risk for getting hurt, sitting out like makes sense, but like if you wake up and you're stretching and your back muscles just like twitch a little bit, but that's it, and you're like, oh well, I don't want to get hurt. It's like just kind of push through it, kind of thing.
And that was kind of Kobe's mantra too, like why he didn't ever take a load management
Mm-hmm.
kind of role. He would be like, especially in the Los Angeles area, the Lakers are such a big sports franchise in general.
Yeah.
He would be like, why would I, if I just feel a little bit more sore than normal, take away from the guy who saved up for 4 months to get decent seats for him and his wife and his kids to come watch me, the star of the Lakers, play a basketball game, and I'm sitting on the bench in my tux, just kind of kicked back.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you got to give the people what they want. And I guess you can reach a point in your career like LeBron James. I mean, he really has nothing left to prove. So I mean, if he wants to take load management, whatever, bro. Like you're old, you've done your thing. I get it, but still, especially this late in your career, people want to come see you. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has nothing left to prove, but
yeah. There's a
it's
certain
stuff
level
like
of
that.
respect kind of thing you gotta
Yeah.
find there. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, you got anything?
No, I was gonna say in the sense of like, kind of backing off on what Dylan was saying, and like, they go to these games expecting to see their favorite player, right? I still think, yeah, whatever, like, oh, my elbow hurts or like my hamstring feels a little tight, you don't have to go as hard. At the end of the day, it's like it's, in my opinion, it's more of a content thing more than anything. You got all these great players from all these great teams coming together, playing in this big tournament to the point where everyone wants to see their favorite player on the field, no, not field, sorry, on the court. So I just think it should be treated more as a entertainment field instead of oh, I'm going to be doing this because of the like money, or I'm going to be doing this for the competitive side of things, when in reality they should be thinking about it more as the content side of things.
I guess if you're gonna have that mindset, All Star Weekend's the place to do it. So
That is true, yeah.
it makes sense. I guess the All Star game in general, no matter what sport you're talking about, it's just kind of changed a little bit, which isn't a good or a bad thing, I guess. Really, just kind
No,
of
for
depends
sure
on
not.
what you want to see, maybe.
Hmm.
So,
And I still back on you on that side as well in the sense of college basketball. I cannot wait for March
dude,
Madness,
when
and
March
we'll
Madness
have a,
comes around,
oh my god,
yeah,
we'll have a separate podcast for that.
we
But
might have to do a
I am
whole thing, just like
I
we
am
each have our brackets and
so
predict them.
excited.
Oh,
I
we're
am
Yeah.
definitely
so
gonna
excited.
upload our brackets and shit like that.
Oh
I
yes,
am so excited for
yes,
March
dude.
Madness. I am so excited.
I
College
need to.
basketball is like a different fiend, you
I need to
know?
pretend to be
Yeah.
injured for those first 2 days.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thursday and Friday
get a
over here.
vasectomy.
True.
Get a vasectomy on the first day of March
You,
Madness, then you got like
no,
4 days
you
off.
get it the day before, so you're good to go by the
Yeah,
Thursday
yeah.
and Friday.
And when all the first round games are happening, you're just kicked back on the couch with
Dude,
the ice pack.
And it's like, all
the
right,
first and
yeah.
second round, the greatest 4 days in sports. It's just unreal.
I'm excited for that.
We'll move on from one piece of content to another. We'll go from basketball to boxing, specifically Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. Who, again, another one of those
That
Avengers
is going to
Endgame
be-
type dimension.
and it's
kind of
actually
things.
happening.
It's
It's
actually-
actually going to
It's
happen.
finally happening in like
It's
3
actually
years in the
happening
making.
from-
This is like what the third time they've tried to do it.
Third time is a
Yeah.
charm, they say, you know, and for them to actually finally step into that ring is going to be the best thing ever. And what's crazy, I don't know if you guys saw the post match or the what's it called,
The
oh
weigh-ins,
my gosh, not the
The
weigh-ins,
face-off?
after the weigh-ins, the
press
face off,
conference.
the press conference, the
yeah.
face off and the press conference.
We got there eventually.
When we did. When Jake made a bet right on the spot and they shook on it. Have you guys seen that?
I
I
don't
did
think
not
I
see
didn't
that.
see that. Yeah, I didn't
Oh
see that.
my gosh. So Jake Paul bet Tommy Fury that if Jake Paul wins, he doesn't get any of the earnings of the fight. But if Tommy Fury wins, he'll double the pay of the fight.
Oh, okay.
And they shook on it.
So
I think today's Friday. They shook on it yesterday.
okay, so Tommy basically took a double or nothing.
Pretty much. I'm very
Interesting.
nervous to see how that goes because legally,
Interesting.
legally, if
Well,
let's say
yeah,
Tommy,
I mean-
like if Tommy loses, he doesn't get anything. I think he's gonna go for a lawsuit. That's just me, because
Yeah, I mean, if he's
you
signed
know-
a contract that is like legally binding,
but
Yeah.
there's no
he's gonna
contract
get
signed.
his money.
It's literally just a shake of a hand.
Right, but I'm saying that
In front of the
they
press.
shook on that. Like he has a legally binding thing that can back him up. He says, "Well, I'm supposed to get this money. Like, come on, man."
Of course, yeah. So
It's just a wild. It's a wild thing. I know, definitely myself. I would assume Brian as well. I don't know about you, Dylan, but watching like the whole like YouTube boxing thing, all the way from KSI to Joe Weller up until
Joe
all of
Weller.
this stuff, like
Yeah.
it's a very. I've absolutely loved it just because I've
Oh.
followed a lot of these guys all the way through all this, so it's a fun
I-
journey.
I do think it's almost a different class because although Jake Paul was a YouTuber, and I guess kind of still is a YouTuber, like he's kind of superseded the YouTube boxing category because like you got KSI and you got all these other guys. They still get together for like YouTube versus TikTok, like boxing matches, whatever. But Jake Paul is trying to make his name as like a legitimate, like a boxer, which like I know there's questions about who he's fought in the past and all this stuff, but like he's still fighting people with fighting experience, and so like he's getting there, and you never know. Like he's a favorite in this match, which
Is
I
it-
mean, kind of
Yeah,
he's
And
so
that's
he's
where I'm
minus
like-
170.
he's minus
that's where I'm
170.
like, that's
Yeah.
where I'm
Wow,
like,
that's
that's what
heavy. That's
that's
heavy.
what fascinates me. I don't understand how he is the
Well,
favorite when
with Tommy,
when
you
Tommy
can have
Fury.
but Tommy Fury, you can have the exact same argument. Like I'm pretty sure
But he's
his
not in the
first.
spotlight like Jake Paul is.
Yeah.
Like everybody looks at Jake Paul, they want a reason to
Yeah,
bash him
yeah.
down. But like Tommy Fury hasn't fought anybody. His brother just happens to be really fucking good.
Right, because Tommy
Yeah.
is, I think his professional record is 8-0 with 4 knockouts, and I'm pretty sure like at least 6 of those have come against guys that are like 2-63. Like
Yeah.
they're most of the
Like,
fighters
you don't
he's
know how
gone
they're
against
still getting
are
contracts.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
So-
very interesting to see what happens this Sunday. It really
Mm.
is.
I'm excited for it, personally.
Yes, definitely. It's big. It's definitely big because I know myself personally. I'm a KSI guy, so like I can't wait for both him and Jake Paul to fight. But yeah, even he's come out and said like if Tommy wins, he's gonna have to fight Jake and then fight Tommy, like to be the champion of the internet boxing kind of thing. Who knows if that'll actually happen or not, but it's gonna be a good watch on Sunday, that's for sure. I need predictions from both of y'all.
I'm going to say Jake Paul is going to win.
How many rounds? I think it's 8 3-minute rounds. I think is what it is.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm going to say it's gonna be. I'm going to say it's gonna be fourth round. TKO.
So we got a
Jake Paul.
knockout.
I honestly think Jake Paul is going to win. The only reason I say this is because I'm a big listener on the Impulsive podcast, and I've seen the interview with Jake, and I've seen the interview with KSI, and like in the newest podcast they released with KSI in there, Logan stated that Jake is kind of almost been preparing for this moment, been ready to the point where
I would hope so.
Yeah, well, obviously, but like to the point where he has never been this dialed in for anything in his entire life, kind of a thing, you know. For his big brother to agree to say that, and to KSI to be like, yeah, is kind of making me lean towards more. Jake Paul's going to win the Tommy Fury fight. Fourth round TKO.
Fourth round
Mark my words.
TKO.
I think this fight's going the distance. I'm very excited for it. But, I mean, everybody, who was it? Mike Tyson said everybody's got to play until you get punched in the face.
Hey, man.
Which is, I mean, that's good and all, Jake Paul. But catch a right hook and everything's out the window, really. It's fight or flight, and you just got to fight. So I think I'll go the distance, and I would say if I was a betting man, but I happen to actually be a betting man, and the odds are just better for Tommy Fury. So I'm going to say it's going to go the distance. Tommy Fury's going to barely squeak out the win. Odds boost. Let's go.
Love that.
Get the boost on the sports book.
I would just be watching as a fan, not just as not as a pulling for this guy, pulling for that guy. I just want a good fight. Want it to be worth it.
Yeah.
Same.
This one goes one of two ways for me. I think it's either Jake Paul by a flatline knockout in the first or second round, or Tommy wins it by decision, because every single one of Jake Paul's knockouts, overhand right and swept super early. But it's always been first, maybe second round, all of his knockouts. So he hasn't really gone the distance in a fight yet. So I think if Tommy can survive the early onslaught from Jake, he might lose the first 2 or 3 rounds, but then slowly turn it around to where he takes the final 5 or 6 and just technically just gets to him. So I think it's early knockout by Jake, or Tommy, like Dylan said, squeaks out a decision.
You got to pick one now.
I do have to pick one. Jake Paul's got really good power.
He's a strong guy.
He's a
really
strong guy.
He's pretty.
And I see a lot more Jake Paul than I do Tommy Fury, so I got to go with what my eyes tell me. I think Jake Paul gets the quick knockout. Conor McGregor, 13 seconds. Bow.
I don't know about that one. I just know that. I just know that. The way that I see this fight happening, it's going to be Jake feeling him out, Tommy feeling him out, and between that third, fourth, fifth roundish, they're gonna go crazy on each other. That's why I say fourth round TKO, because the pattern is there. Jake likes to do the early stages, so that's why I'm like, they're gonna feel themselves out for the first round, potentially second round, third round. is gonna be up in the air, but then fourth round, Jake is gonna be like, I need this kind of a thing, you know. But
And
Which
you
then,
can't forget that Tommy actually has the reach on him in this fight.
yeah, he does.
He's got 80 inches and Jake Paul has 76, I believe. So, and I feel like Jake Paul, his thing is like, he kind of keeps a distance and bam, right hook and you're on the floor.
I
So
thought you were about to say that Tommy Fury has 80 inches of reach on Jake Paul. I'd be like, whoa.
no,
I didn't know he was
So
Elastigirl.
four. All right, man.
I love that.
Which this was a question I've seen a couple of times. Who benefits more with a win and who suffers more with a loss, do you think?
I'll let Dylan go first.
Because I think it's a very clear answer. Who
Tommy Fury benefits with a win more. Because Jake Paul, if he loses, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, he sucks. But he's still in the public eye. The only reason people know that Tommy Fury is fighting is because he's fighting Jake Paul.
Mm-hmm.
If Tommy Fury wins, then it's like, okay, man, this guy is okay. If Jake Paul wins, it's like, oh, shitty opponent. Like, he didn't face a good opponent. But if he loses, his next fight is going to be like, oh, this is the comeback. This is the revenge. Like, Jake Paul will still get clicks and still get views on his stuff, but Tommy Fury probably won't if he loses this.
His own brother said that he's kicked out of the family if he loses. Like, you want to talk about suffering from a loss. Like,
you talk about stakes. The stakes have never been higher for Tommy.
Yes. No kidding. Yeah, this
does Jake Paul really have to lose?
I mean, if Jake Paul loses, you could easily just be like, oh yeah, he quite clearly handpicked all of the people he beat, and he's not anywhere near as good as he tries to claim he is. But at the end of the day, he's got such a presence on social media that like he's not going to go away, or he's not going to just disappear out of nowhere. If Tommy Fury loses, he might as well like go hide in a cave for the rest of his life, because like
pack it up and live in Serbia or something.
Like I don't think his family will like completely abandon him, kind of like how it's been led up to you to think. But like you've crapped all over your family name if you lose this one, because like Jake still does his thing, Logan still does his thing. Like the Paul family's fine, the Fury family's going to suffer big time.
What were you going to say, Brian?
I was going to say more on the lines of, the lines of, I think, kind of in the same way as you guys are, that Fury does have more to lose because this is the third time. If this was the first fight, cool. You respect. You got in the ring. You put a great show. Awesome. Let's say if Fury lost, right? Awesome. You still got in the ring. But this is the third time, guys.
Yeah, him ducking out of this fight twice before is bad.
If he loses at this point, it's to the point where it's like you were just scared all along, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You were just scared. You didn't want to fight. So it would be putting a bad rep to that Fury family name, but then also to Tommy as well.
Yeah.
But then again, with the Jake has nothing to lose. And everyone will say this because he's a YouTuber, bro. He's a YouTuber boxer. He classifies himself as a professional boxer, but whenever you in the press conferences and everything, he always classifies himself as, imagine if you lose to a YouTuber. How embarrassing is it going to be when you lose to a YouTuber?
Yeah.
That kind of annoys me though, because he's playing both sides of the fence. It's like pick one,
exactly.
At least,
Yeah.
like you got to lean into the fact that you're an influencer doing this, or you got to lean into the I've been doing this for time. Like you put some respect on my name.
I think it would have been I don't think it would have been a big deal if it was the first fight. But dude, this is the third, fourth, whatever time. I think it is the third time that they scheduled this fight, and he's finally coming forward and fighting. If it was the first fight, it would have been like, cool, respect to each other. They got into the ring. Whoever wins, wins. At this point, it's like, hey, you better win or else you're done. Your career is kind of over for Tommy's side, but for Jake, hey, I actually fought a real boxer, not a old fart who was in the MMA. You know, who did UFC or MMA or whatever the hell it is. You know, so that's my take on that side. If it was the first fight, cool. Both respected both fighters. They both got in the ring. They hashed out their beef or whatever. Cool. Third fight, or now it's been rescheduled so many times. now there's something on the line. Not for Jake, really, because Jake has been organizing. He's been the A team whenever it comes to promoting and everything. It's more along the line of Tommy and his family, because that's what's going to sting. If Tommy loses, that whole Fury family is probably going to come after Jake Paul.
Facts.
So,
Yeah.
that's my take on that.
We'll see how it goes. I guess we'll kind of discuss the result of it next week. So tune in for next week's. We'll try something a little different here real quick. We usually we'll shift into the St. Louis local kind of stuff here. But before we do that, if you're new here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, tell your friends and everyone you know. We're doing this weekly, so if you're liking what you're seeing, just hit us with a like and a subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it, for sure. So, anyway, we're gonna move on into the St. Louis, the more local kind of part, the back half of this little episode. The first thing I had on here is talking about St. Louis City SC, the new soccer team. However, before we get to that, we have to talk about the St. Louis Blues. It's been the first thing on the docket every week, and I wasn't wanting it to be the first one this week because I don't want just the Blues to be the biggest part of the local bit. But holy crap, has the last week changed everything. Last week, I was sitting here humbly bragging about how right I was that moving Tarasenko was the best thing for the team. And now, after them trading O'Reilly and Achari live on the podcast, losing 4 in a row, Craig Berube calling out the team. You've got guys on the team calling out other guys on the team. You've got other guys saying that everyone else is saying this is a total crap. None of this is true. It's a bit nuts. It is a bit nuts. So I know Dylan doesn't know a whole lot because, as you can see, he's got a new setup and he's been moving this whole day. So he doesn't know all the ins and outs. But what about you,
I looked at my phone for more than 30 minutes today.
Yeah.
So
the only thing that I want to add from last podcast is I kind of figured that after our insane talk about like how we were doing so well to the point where live on the podcast, which still blows my mind, that they traded those guys. And then after that, it's been a living hell. I remember Snapchatting Drake in one of the games, and I was like, what happened to us? You know, like, just what happened? It got to the point where it's like, I try to enjoy it, but I'm gonna be real, I'm not enjoying the gameplay. I really am not. I am depressed every time they come live. I'm to a point right now where I'm like, wow. But I'm still sticking with the Blues, obviously, since hometown. But it's
hard to watch.
It's hard to watch them. It really is. It's really hard to see them perform the way that they are performing right now.
it's kind of like how Chicago Bears fans have probably felt for the past like 20 years. Like they just think they're rebuilding forever. Like the rest of this season is not meant to be fun. It's like, all right, we suck right now, but at least we have something to look forward to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we actually do.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some picks, we got some things that could swing our way depending on how we play our cards, but it's like we're just not going to have fun the rest of the season as fans.
We're really.
And I think
a
real fan can accept. Yeah, we are. I 100% believe we are. A real fan can accept. You know, you can't win a Stanley Cup every year because nobody does that. So I think you just got to kind of accept that this year is going to suck, and we got to focus on what kind of moves we can make to make us better for the future.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, like I got it up right here. So we traded O'Reilly and Achari on the 17th, which was last Friday. Since then, we've played 4 games. We played Colorado at home, lost 4-1. Colorado won the Cup last year. They're a Cup favorite again this year. Like, they're a good team. Like, that would have been a tough game no matter what. We could have had our Cup-winning team. That's always going to be a tough game. Then you lose the very next night. You lose 7-2 to the Senators, who are just as bad, if not worse, than us. It's like, okay, it's the second half of a back-to-back, and you traveled overnight to a whole different country. It's like, okay, mate, like, okay, cool. Morale's still low, I'm sure. 2 days later, you travel to Carolina, lose 4-1. Same thing with Colorado. Cup favorites. Like, these guys are legit. And then last night, you lose to Vancouver 3-2 in overtime, having been up 2-0 for 58 and a half or 57 and a half minutes of the game, and then giving up a goal with less than 2 minutes. Or, no, sorry, they scored the game tying goal with less than 2 minutes left, and then win in overtime. The biggest thing with me is half the team does not care anymore. It's one thing to be bad. I don't like us being bad. But if we're gonna be bad, at least try not to be bad.
Be gritty,
Be gritty, be physical, block shots, do something. Don't just lollygag on a back check. Don't just skate the puck through the zone like it's a high school game. Like, you gotta at least show like you want to be there. And that's exactly, almost word for word, what Craig Berube said last night after that game. He's like, yeah, our guys, our top guys, they're getting paid a lot of money, and they're just not showing up to work, and they're not doing their job. This team, his exact words were like, this team does not show any passion, they're not playing with any inspiration, and you cannot get away with that in this league. And he could not be farther from the truth, or closer to the truth. Like, it's sad when your own team does not care about how your team does at all.
And I'm sure he's fed up with it. I would be too.
Yeah, it says a lot when you have Alexei Tropchenko, a guy who's played 70 NHL games. He's still technically a rookie. When he comes out and says, yeah, like there are guys on this team that do not care, they do not play hard, and he's like, I try my best to play like I'm in the NHL. I don't pretend like I'm in some beer league and just kind of lollygag and BS around the ring.
Yeah.
And it's pretty damning if a young prospect comes out and says that about an NHL team. I understand half the leadership group has gotten traded away, but like, that's not something you want to hear at all.
No, because it promotes not only the way I relate to it, the bad culture. You have bad culture, you're going to have a bad team. Simple as that. So if everyone's bringing that negativity, which I understand, we're not in a great place, whatever. At the same time, we got to try, I don't know. I feel like at least if we brought up the culture in a sense a little bit higher, where everyone had the same passion as they used to, I feel like we would do decent with the young, even with the youngins. Do I think we're gonna make it to the playoffs? Absolutely not. After the last podcast,
we're gonna win the first overall pick at this point. What do you mean?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, that's just one of those things where I'm like, it pains me to see how they are, but at the same time, I hope it's not a situation where they're like, we're rebuilding.
No, we're definitely rebuilding. The question is going to be how long?
Because that's what scares me.
If you draft / move around all of the picks that we've gotten for other players, like, that's going to determine kind of how quick the team rebounds. Because it's interesting. We got 3 first-round picks, and if the rumor mills come out to be true, where we trade Barbashev and get another first-round pick from that, having 4 first-round picks with whatever you want to do with them, like, it's definitely an interesting spot. I still hope we don't trade away Barbashev, but the other major point that I don't know if Dylan's found out about, but this morning Robert Thomas went on the local radio station. He does every single week, and just conveniently on Fridays is when he goes on, so he was on there today. And they were asking him, like, what's, like, your response to Craig Berube's quotes? And he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I've been in this room while we've won, and I've been in this room while we're losing. He's like, Berube is so far from the truth when he says that guys don't play and like don't care and things like that,
Yeah.
which was very strange to me because, well, not strange, but it just kind of proved to me that Robert Thomas was one of the people Chief was speaking to, because Robert Thomas and Jordan Cairo over those 4 games that I mentioned have combined for 1 assist. Jordan Cairo is 1 point under how many games they've played. So Jordan Cairo's obviously got the scoring, but he's on a cold streak. Robert Thomas, I absolutely love his playmaking skills. He's one of the best players on the team. I wish he would shoot more, but he's in a skid. Yep. But like, when you, it's not just the fact that their sticks have gone cold. It's just they're not showing that they care at all. Like, watching Jordan Cairo back check on defense is like nails on a chalkboard. It is the most infuriating thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, this guy, we signed him for 8 years for $8.25 million a year. And I understand that he's young, and I understand that that's plenty of time for him to grow, and this could just be a phase. I'm hoping it is, but like, because he had 1 good season last season, now we're paying him all this money, and if he's going to act like a spoiled brat for the 8 years that we've got him, I don't want him. I don't want him. I hope that I'm completely wrong, but like, the guy's got to show that he cares. He doesn't even have to be good at defense if he's at least trying. That's all I ask, is that like you just try.
Show some passion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So, going from a team that has no inspiration, no character, no nothing, we'll move on to a team that apparently is supposed to have all of those things. And that's St. Louis City, baby. Their first ever game, if you're watching this the day this drops, is going to be tonight against Austin FC. Very first game in St. Louis history. Finally, this team has a soccer team. Not only were they supposed to start last season, but then COVID hit, so they had to push everything back a year. But this place has been known as the capital of soccer in the United States forever. So how is it taking this long for the city to get a team? I'll never know. But the jersey looks sick. I'm repping it, obviously. I cannot wait to watch this team play. I couldn't tell you more than 3 people on the team, but I cannot wait. I'm so happy.
That'll come with time, especially you saw it with the Battlehawks. I mean, they're a brand new team.
Hey, we're getting into them next. Holy.
But you know some of their names now, but they've started the season. But anyways, back to the SC. It's exciting. Soccer being in St. Louis in the major league, it's going to be exciting. It's not new to the people of St. Louis. It's been a very prominent part of the St. Louis culture, but to see a professional team that we can root for is going to be so sick. I'm stoked for it.
Yeah, there was
I'm very excited.
Yeah, there was a small part of me that wanted to just say screw it and buy a plane ticket down to Austin just so I could say I was at the very first game. But that's a I don't have the facilities for that just yet. But the biggest thing that excites me is the director of soccer for the team, basically like the general manager, is to put it in American sports terms. He basically said, like, last year, he's like, look, when we build this team, we're going to build a team that is blue collared. They're going to be a high press, strong counterattack, very high pace. Like, there's no stopping. This is going to be a very physical team and kind of just a very gritty team, similar to how the Blues should be playing. Anyway, we're done with them. But just hearing those words come out of this guy's mouth is music to my ears, because that's like the identity of St. Louis. Like, you enjoy looking at all the flashy, kind of like the Neymars or Ronaldinhos, all of the flash and the tricks and all that stuff. It's definitely cool, and like if it works, it's awesome. But like all the small details of the game, all of the little things that add up into what separates a win from a tie, from a loss. Like, I don't see this team being extremely good, but with how crazy the MLS is, like, I was planning on doing like a predictions video, And even though I'm not clued in on the MLS that much, I was gonna be like, all right, I'll just take the last like 5 seasons, see where each team finishes, and then just kind of like average it out, and just kind of play it safe. You couldn't. Every single team
Yeah.
is like last the 2022 season. I think the Colorado Rapids finished like 11th in the Western Conference, and in
I'm so sad about that.
2021 they were like second and almost won the thing. Like
Yeah.
and that's like almost every single team. Like no team is like consistently in like the top 3 or 4 from year to year. So like
Yeah.
we realistically should be one of the worst teams in the league. But if we're one of the better ones, like that's not unprecedented. So I just can't wait. They
And
should
it's going
start
to be
playing right now.
exciting to see that grimy, hard to work stuff. Like anytime you hear that out of a coach, especially when it comes to soccer, like that's unheard of in the game of soccer these days. You got someone who's willing to be like, more of the roughneck kind of player and kind of
Hmm.
team and take that out on his your identity, be like the bad boys of a sport. It's got to hype you up. Like I'm stoked for that. Like anytime you hear a team that's just going to be like, yeah, we're just going to bring it to them, make them handle us. Like that hypes you up. It's gonna be
Oh
so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. When you force the issue, it's
Yeah, be
yeah,
the problem. Yeah,
exactly,
Be the problem. Yeah.
exactly.
No, I'm very excited for this whole entire team. So I've been following the MLS especially for a very long time. For those who don't know, I'm a big LA Galaxy guy. When I was growing up, I grew up in Los Angeles, so LA Galaxy has been my team since what, '05. That's whenever I think I watched my first game. So I've been following the MLS for a while. I will disagree with something on you on this side, Drake. Whenever it comes to the like, oh, there's never been a team that's been very like consistent in winning it all kind of a thing. I think there's one team that is going to be always going to be on top, and that's going to be LAFC, not LA
Yeah.
Galaxy, but LAFC. LAFC has been famously known to re-sign these OG players. Gareth Bell being one of them, Carlos Vela being another one. Just these guys that are just been playing in the not only overseas but they're legends in the sport. I think they have that reputation now where I can see them winning next season and I can see or I'm sorry, this season and I can see them winning the next kind of a thing.
Yeah, because they've been able to get guys like Gareth Bale, huge name,
Dude.
Chiellini from
Yes.
Juventus. Like the I won't say the problem because all of these great players from the all across the world coming to America to play is good, regardless of
Hmm.
like, oh well, they're at the end of their career, so it's a retirement league. Like
Yeah.
it's the MLS is slowly shedding that, but being able to attract those huge names, you get like New York and LA. Those are the only 2 cities any of those guys are gonna go to. So, you you're definitely right in like those teams are always going to have a very very strong chance.
Hmm.
But just I wish I knew all the specifics about like the salary cap and all of this stuff because like you can have guys like a Gareth Bale on your team and it doesn't matter how much you're paying him. It's you
Oh,
can get
for
away with
sure.
it, but like there's like an X amount of players on your roster that you cannot pay more than X amount, and if you do, it comes out of a different pool that you can't use to play
Hmm.
these international guys. It's a weird thing, and I think that's how it keeps the MLS so diverse or there's so much parity in it because of these weird rules that I still don't have my brain around. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, being able to bring in these huge stars is always going to be good.
I mean, look at Atlanta. They brought in Higuain. He's an Argentinian
True,
legend. You
true.
know, like for him to be here in the MLS, that's why everyone's saying it's a retirement league. Look at Gareth. Look at all these Chicha. Look at Avella. Look at Higuain. Look at
Ibrahimovic.
Chiellini. Everyone. Ibrahimovic, for
Ibra,
example, too.
yeah,
Yeah,
Even though he just went back overseas
yeah.
it,
after
he's
being from LA, but yeah, it's a crazy thing. Crazy on that side of things. Going back to the St. Louis side of things, I am very excited to see how they play, especially what Dylan said in the sense of like they're gonna be very, very attacking more than anything. But it's I don't want to say that they're not going to do good. I think they're going to do good, but I don't think they have enough chemistry to be good.
That's a big thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to bring
Yeah.
that up too because, like you mentioned, Drake. Everybody, the overseas players will gravitate towards LA and New York, but with this, like, the intricacies of the salary cap and all that, these other squads, like St. Louis, for example, they're going to have to be more apt to building a squad, not just finding a guy,
Right.
which will be exciting to see how the chemistry comes into play in the coming years for St. Louis, for example. But like the Seattle Sounders were on top a couple of years ago, and they were doing good. And I mean, not a lot of people could tell you a person on that team unless you were a religious fan of that team.
Dude,
So it's
Seattle was crazy for years. They
yeah,
were
and it was
always on
exciting.
top. Yeah, and no one this sounds so bad, but no one knew who was really on the team until
Yeah,
they were actually on the map. That's what's crazy.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that'll be exciting to see the way the people in charge can craft a squad, not just find a guy. That's what
Right.
I'm
Mhm.
Oh
stoked for.
yeah, 100%. I can't wait for Leo Messi to sign for St. Louis when he's done it at PSG.
Oh, please.
Side
Please.
rumor, he's
I'll buy
rumored
100
to
jerseys.
be contract to go back to Barcelona. Rumored to go back
I
to
did see
Barcelona.
that, and I hope it happens because he just doesn't. Him in a PSG jersey does not look right.
The
At
number
all.
30 on him does not look good.
No.
I mean, that was the first
Great
number
player.
he had at Barcelona, so like it made sense.
Yeah.
But he's got to wear that number 10, bro.
But
June, what
I'm
is it?
very excited.
June 11th, LA Galaxy comes to St. Louis, so me and Brian are
Yo.
gonna have to go to that game for sure.
June
No,
11th.
and this is what's crazy about it as well. Me and Drake talked about this off camera. I'm always going to be an LA Galaxy fan. I don't think there's going to be a day in my mind where I'm not going to be an LA Galaxy fan. But when they don't play LA Galaxy, I'm going to be a St. Louis fan all the way. Why? Because I'm in this area. I'm from this area. I love this area. I love St. Louis. So,
I don't think you do, based on what you just said. I don't know.
but the first ever team that I fell in love with was LA Galaxy, and we were butt cheeks for years, and I still stuck with them. You know, like we were bad until, well, we're kind of still bad, but I mean, but it's one of those things where I'm like, my first love team versus my hometown team are going against each other is going to be the most exciting game that I'm going to attend. But it's at the same time it's going to be the most heartbreaking because I love LA, love them. I love St. Louis. We finally have a team, so
Yes,
to see
sir.
them go head to head is going to be heartbreaking but very exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
However it plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. So we'll get some reaction after the first game next week as well. But the last thing we got to talk about before we start to wrap her up is another brand new, no, not brand new, but new St. Louis team, and that's the Battlehawks, baby. Kaká
season.
is a freaking law in this league, bro. Like,
Kaká is the law.
Kaká is the law, my
I
friend.
love that.
Battlehawks going 2-0 to start the year, beating the San Antonio Brahmas and the Seattle Sea Dragons in last minute fashion both times. This team is electric, dude. Like, this team was electric in 2020 when the XFL first started. Like, it absolutely cultivated the whole city. Like, the whole city was reeling behind them. And unfortunately, COVID hit. We all know how that goes. And now the XFL's back. And some people were a little scared that the Battlehawks wouldn't have the same vibe to it this go around just because it's been so long. You know, who knows what's going to happen. That couldn't be farther from the truth, my friend. This team is taking over the city, and I'm so here for it.
Oh,
It's one
me
of-
too.
I'm very excited. I'm not a big, like I said, big football person, but whenever it comes to a hometown team, that's what's exciting. Like just to see how everyone was like, well, one, we lost the Rams. Obviously, that was a big hit on us. But then we gained the Battlehawks. And the Battlehawks, like you said, Drake, they were great in 2020, but then, or before 2020, and then COVID, whatever. But now it's like that revenge, like that excitement's back. Like, dude, we're here. We're already showing that we're here, that we're present. Dude, it's exciting for me. I'm really excited. And again, I'm not a big football person, but it still excites me to see the energy that this team is causing to St. Louis right now.
It's so cool because we're the only team that's 2-0 right now. Also, we're us and the Sea Dragons are the only two teams that have played 2 games, so we're not necessarily like the only team that hasn't lost, but we do
We're
have
the
2
only
wins.
team with 2
both,
wins.
yeah. So
Pretty much.
important. It's really important. But I mean, they both come from behind victories, pretty cool fashion in both of them because it's must see TV. You're on the edge of your seat, and just something cool is going to happen when the Battlehawks play, and it's exciting, especially for this city. And I think it's good for the XFL because competing with the NFL is no small task. Like that's a big league. They're very prominent, but I think this will be good to get them. They can never compete with the NFL if they're trying to do it in the same season. But
Heck no shot.
this is good timing for them, especially with the different rules. People are like, wait a minute, why did the Battlehawks score a touchdown and then they got the ball immediately? They didn't have to kick it off because of the new rules. You can, if it's in the fourth quarter and you're down, you can go for a 4th and 15 and try to convert it. And if you convert it, you keep the ball. If not, then you just screwed yourself and the other
You
team
can get 3 points after scoring a touchdown. Like
Yeah,
that's
there's
never
a
been
1
seen
point,
before.
2 point, and 3 point conversion. So that's exciting, and it's a lot of ways to keep these teams in it towards the end of the game. Kind of keep the excitement. Yeah, it might not be kind of a traditional look at, oh, well, if you just play better to the 3/4 of the game, then you win. But you're engaged the whole game. You can never count a team out. So it's exciting, especially for the St. Louis area. We got this, and then whatever happens with the soccer team, it's a lot of exciting stuff right now in the city.
Yeah, the city's definitely popping off.
I really love the XFL, the names of the teams. I think it's the funniest thing ever, man. Like I was looking through the roster, or like not the roster, but like the names of all the cities, and it just cracks me up.
Yeah, they're definitely like high school mascots. You got the Battlehawks, the Sea Dragons. You got the Defenders, the Vipers, the Brahmas, which is essentially just the Rock. Like we all know where that came from.
Yeah.
The Guardians, the Renegades, and the Roughnecks. Like if those aren't the most 3 generic mascots you've ever heard of in your life, I don't know what is.
And the Houston Roughnecks is gotta be the coolest one. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. That's just.
This sounds so homer of me, but I think Battlehawks is the best one.
I think our logo's the best.
Oh, dude,
the
no
logo's
question.
And our helmets. Have you seen our helmets?
So
They're
cold,
They're
bro.
sick with the wings. It's kind of a spin on almost like the Philadelphia Eagles with how they got going, but it looks sick. And yeah, I love our logo. But the Houston Roughnecks, that just sounds tough. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. The only thing that kind of upsets me with the XFL, I think it's only with the Battlehawks, but our first home game isn't until week 4. Like our first 2 games, and then next week are all away, and then finally we come home. So like, it sucks for the moment, but since the regular season's only 10 weeks long, you've got 5 home games in your last 8 or in your last 7. So like, you're gonna get some momentum there anyway. But they, Dylan, I don't know if you saw this since you're out in Maryland, but they just today opened up the 300 section of the Edward Jones Dome for tickets. Yeah. And apparently I never tried myself to get on, but people were like in a queue. Like they weren't able to browse the website to get tickets. Like apparently there was a queue to get in for the 300s. And like the Dome is not a small stadium. Like
no.
So that's the one thing that like kind of worries me, is that St. Louis is like the biggest XFL city, because like the Sea Dragons play in the same stadium as the Seahawks, the Seahawks, and that stadium was nowhere near anywhere close to being as filled up as a Seahawks game. Which, don't get me wrong, if they're only selling lower bowl tickets anyway, that's gonna have something to do with that. So I don't want it to be a thing where like it's going so crazy in St. Louis, but everywhere else is just kind of like meh. And
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, a lot of these, well, I guess not a lot, but St. Louis has been a good football town, but when the Rams get stripped away, it's like all this pent up
yeah,
need for a football game in our city
yeah,
is going to overflow to. I mean, you saw it in 2020 how it overflowed into the Battlehawks, and
yeah. That's
it was
definitely part of it.
electric. Yeah, and I think it's going to keep being that way in St. Louis. But I mean, like some of these cities like San Antonio, Arlington, Orlando, um, and St. Louis, I guess, are the only ones really. But they're doing a kind of a good job of diversifying to cities that don't just have NFL. Because
Yeah,
if you were to only market to NFL cities, then
You're not.
yeah,
some people might
for
just
sure.
be like, "I'll just wait for the NFL to come back."
Exactly.
I wouldn't worry
Yeah.
about that. Like, there's people in these other cities that just need it,
Mm-hmm.
like St. Louis, and it's going to
Big
be
time.
electric whenever we come home. Especially, imagine we're on a 4-0 streak or a 3-0
Yeah,
streak.
3-0 streak. Yeah,
Crazy.
if we can beat who we play next week,
That place would
DC.
jump it
Yeah.
against our old quarterback. Our old quarterback Jordan Teamu is their starting quarterback
Oh,
now.
is he?
He was the St. Louis
Yeah.
Battlehawks starting quarterback in the 2020 season. So that is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish there was a
I
way to
didn't know that.
retain people through the years because he was sick for the Battlehawks in the first year.
Well, dude, we've basically got Tom Brady now, so I don't understand
I mean,
why you're complaining.
no hate on AJ McCarron. No hate on AJ McCarron. The first year the XFL was rebooted to St. Louis, Jordan Talbot was electric, and I loved it all.
Mm-hmm. AJ McCarron is a very like out of nowhere like I'm a huge AJ McCarron fan now. Like when they interviewed him after the game last night when they came back and won again, he was like, "Yeah, I had chances to go like stay in the NFL and just be a backup and like make a good living, like basically be the second coming to Chase Daniel." But he's like, I have kids now and I want them to see me play and like make memories of them seeing me play and like do well. So like I did take a pay cut to come here, but like I enjoy playing here so much and I enjoy being on the field with these guys. I'm like, well, you just won yourself a new fan in me. Like that's, I run through a wall for that guy now. All of a sudden, like,
yeah, it's sick.
Yeah,
it's very respectful. It's it's very awesome.
So yeah, hearing that, it's sports are going crazy in St. Louis. The Blues are the next drama TV show, and you got the Battlehawks going crazy. The Cardinals, the soccer team, are getting ready to start. It's a good time to be in the city. The only problem is it's too dang cold still. I need spring to show up.
Well, we're the bipolar state. Like 2 days ago it was beautiful, and now it's like
it was 70 degrees, and then it rained, and now it's going to be below freezing tonight. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
It was 60 degrees out here today, so I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
Anyways. Well, that brings it to the ending part of the show here. We're kind of doing a little rotation here. We're taking turns at closing out the show with some kind of topics or questions or a series of things going on here. Tonight it is good old Brian's turn. Not exactly sure what he's got planned for us, but he's got something planned for us. So let's hear it.
So I'm making up a new segment of the show since we've always done the like, you know, just debates almost. I'm bringing in the factor cap, but I don't want you guys to.
We gotta guess if it's
factor
true or false, pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay.
All right.
So I got 3 that I picked out because I thought they were cool. I know this first one that I'm gonna say is pretty easy.
All right. I'm ready to use my brain.
But you're not allowed to try it. Okay?
Okay.
Number 1. It is impossible for most people to lick their own elbow.
It's impossible for most people. Well, that's got to be true. That's got to be a fact.
So Dylan says cap.
No, I said fact.
Oh, fact.
Yeah.
That has to be.
It is fact
Yeah.
that most people cannot lick their own elbow.
Yep.
The only people that can lick their own elbow have freakishly long tongues, and there's videos of that on the internet, which
Yeah.
I don't recommend. It is
Put on safe
creepy.
search.
You run safe
Um,
search. Yeah.
It is physically impossible for pigs to look up into the sky.
This isn't fair. Because I know the answer to this.
Do you really?
Yeah. I don't think Dylan does, so I'm going to let him go.
That's cap. Pigs can look up.
I saw a TikTok video the other day, and it was this chick basically crying her eyes out because she found out that pigs are unable to look up. They have no muscles in their neck that allow them to look up.
Look up. So they
So
cannot look
so
up to
they're
the
not
sky.
able to look up.
Look at those faces.
The best part about that
That
video,
sucks.
the best part about that video I watched was after she said that, it cut to this like guy on his farm like holding a pig and it's like looking up and it's just like squealing like you've never heard a pig squeal before. It's like, what the heck is this? But like I
Could
literally
you
saw-
imagine never seeing the stars, bro?
dude,
I would cry.
that's
Stars are
that's
sick.
so sad.
Would you even like be missing out because they don't know what's up there? So
I mean, I
mean,
guess
it wouldn't
it's
matter,
not
right?
like
Unless-
one of them can, so they're coming into the bar on Saturday night and be like, "Yo, guess what I did last night?"
See,
And everyone else is like,
I'm-
"Man, I wish I was as cool as him."
I guess it's kind of like bald eagles looking at us and be like, could you imagine not being able to see for
Imagine not being able
miles
to fly.
on miles? Yeah,
Losers.
or something like that. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, we don't know what we're missing out on.
That's a good one though. I literally saw that like 3 days ago, but I would have
That's
I would have
tough.
thought that pigs could look up if I didn't already see that. That's tough.
yeah, that's crazy. This one messed me up. This one really messed me up because it made me really think about this one. All right, so there are 293 ways to make change for $1.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be a fact.
I mean, if 223,
293, right?
293,
293 ways to make change for $8.
293.
It's a lot of ways.
I would think that's got to be true because I figured it. The only other way, like if it's wrong, it's gonna be like 2,000 or something like that. But so I'm gonna go with a lower number and say true.
It is true.
That is wild.
293 ways you can make change for $1, and that's
You want to know how I decided I thought that was a fact?
Hmm.
My brain, I said, okay, you could do 4 quarters, you could do all the pennies, and then I was like, there's a lot of other variations, at least more than 10. So yeah, gotta be true. I ain't doing that math. I ain't really thinking about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my god.
That's brilliant.
Crazy.
It's like, how many stars in the sky do you think there are? I'd say at least
At least
12.
3. Yeah.
That's
Oh
awesome.
my god. I mean, it is kind of crazy though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is weird that there's that many ways that you can make change for $1 bill.
I think we get kind of washed out on numbers because big numbers is such a prominent thing in our
Yeah.
lives. Like, oh, this athlete signed for $4,500 million gazillion dollars, so it's like we're so accustomed to big numbers. But 293 different ways to do the same exact thing
Yeah.
is crazy.
I kind of picture that being like on a math test. You like see the problem and it's like, what's the answer? It's like, it's either like 30, 293, or like 13,000. Like,
And then there's 29.3.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Now wait a second.
yeah.
You just circle all of them. I circled the right answer.
I circled the right answer, so it has to be it, right?
Hey.
Yeah, wild.
Is that all you got there, B?
I mean, that's pretty much it, unless you guys want a bonus one.
I'd love a bonus one. Just
Okay.
one more for the road.
This is more of a question. What fish can blink with both eyes?
Oh God.
What fish can blink with
The
both
smile on his
eyes?
face makes me think it's some kind of joke. I'm waiting for a punchline.
It's not.
Right.
It's not. It's actually a fish. It's a fish that can blink. It's the only fish that can blink with its both eyes.
You put quotations.
He did
fish.
this that so that instantly brings me to like a dolphin or some kind of whale or
I'm
a
gonna say
shark.
octopus
Okay.
Ooh,
because
that
you
is a
put quotations around the
shout.
fish. So
That is a shout, you know.
so you being sneaky. I don't know how I feel about it, but
Yeah.
do
Him
you
doing
know if
it-
it's a
well-
saltwater or a freshwater?
Saltwater.
Saltwater
could
for
be.
sure. Quick on that. So it's definitely an ocean creature.
Wait. Okay, so a dolphin is technically a mammal, right? Does
A
it
dolphin
still
is a mammal.
is it still classified as a fish though?
Yes.
Because that's my thing. Like, I want to say dolphin, but I just thought, like, oh, well, it's technically a mammal, so maybe that's why he did this, because dolphins are also mammals. I'm going to go with dolphin. I like octopus, though.
It's probably some weird ass like starfish.
It's a starfish.
You know, they have our eyes like.
You can tell we're brothers, right? You said
Yeah,
the same
that's dope.
thing. That's
The person
awesome.
who was most close.
It was squid, wasn't it? Oh,
Squid.
And the answer is the only fish that can blink with both eyes is a shark.
I should have said shark. Is it a specific shark or just like all sharks?
All sharks can blink with both eyes. Like
That's nuts.
if they blink, that's a blink. Not
yeah, good.
yeah.
I bet it is.
Hey, did you
If
know
I
that if you
blink, it's a
shut
blink.
both eyes at the same time, it's called a blink?
No way. Can I do it?
And if you do it with one eye, it's a wink.
Oh,
Too
that's
many
why they
facts.
call it
Yeah.
a wink.
This bro
But
knows
that's
too
all
much,
I got.
bro.
That's all I got.
It's a wink because it's one eye.
What? No way.
What?
That's crazy.
Mind blown.
Well, tune
Oh,
in next
man.
week for even more unreal facts.
Hey, we'll get back to y'all on a couple things. We'll get back on the St. Louis, the
Jake Paul.
the soccer team, the Jake Paul.
Jake
It'll be a
Paul.
lot of fun.
Yeah. We got some good stuff coming up. We had a little bit of a lull there in between the Super Bowl and the springtime, but
We're about to be in full effect. Baseball's coming back.
baseball's the World Baseball Classic starting soon. We'll have to go over that next week or the week
That's-
after. I don't know when that starts
Yes.
specifically, but no, we got hockey and basketball playoffs coming soon. Yeah, we're in for a ride here. So, boys,
March
as always, March Madness. How can I forget? But we're gonna end her there, boys. Appreciate your time as always, and we will do it all again next week. So once again, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe if you really enjoyed it, tell all of your friends, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.